Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one! Another one!
Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope you're having a great start to your week. The weather's been a little chilly. It's going to get warmer by the end of the week, I have noticed. Welcome aboard our co-host, Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Very peaceful morning outside today. So I know we're several states away, but I had a very peaceful, breezy morning as well. So I'm doing great.
Yeah, it's supposed to get up by the time the weekend rolls around. It should be up into the 70s again. It has been quite cool. So, you know, said, don't call me back within the next 2 hours. And what do? No one listens. Hey, welcome aboard. Of course, we're brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda. Reach out to andymorehonda.com to always find the greatest on new and used vehicles. And Endeavor Hospitality, places like BB's Market. You can go to your Apple App Store, Google Play Store. Join the WOW Club today. Start earning WOW rewards to great places like BB's, who has the most incredible meats I have ever had. That is no joke. That is flat out truth. Big show today, of course. As always, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News will be joining us. And we've got a special guest today. Dane Fife is going to join us as well. We'll get caught up on what's going on with Dane, what he's up to, and big thanks to him for joining us as well. So looking forward to that. And everyone else, as they are jumping on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, we appreciate you guys. It is a not a slow sports week. It just continues on, man. The Major League Baseball race continues as the playoffs have hit a crescendo. And then last night, with all everybody waiting on and anticipating, are the Yankees going down? God says, let's wait another day.
Yes, he did. Yes,
God
he did.
says, let's wait one more day, or Yahweh, or whomever you. Yes, it's postponed due to rain. When was the last time? I cannot remember a Major League Baseball playoff game being postponed by rain. It's been a minute.
Well, there was one earlier the same series got delayed earlier this week. Or I guess it would be last week now. Yeah.
Delayed or postponed, like by a day?
Postponed. It got postponed by a day. It was game 2. They had to play. So
I wasn't paying attention to their. I didn't pay attention in the early rounds.
They have not. They have not gotten much help from the weather gods, the rain gods.
Man, and that a game like that the networks hate that because they build that up. Oh, they build that up. It's a big, big game. Then you got to fill that time.
Yep. I don't know how you do that. Play a replay, maybe?
And not only that, it's not at night. So now everyone who was jacked up and were ready to watch that game, it's not till tonight. It's Tuesday afternoon. Right. 4:07 Eastern time. So they're trying to give you a little bit of a break, I guess, by saying, all right, you may have to miss the first part of it or get off work early.
Well, I think
Yankees fans.
I think they had to schedule it early because I believe
other games.
The next game is like the next series, the ALCS will start tomorrow, and they've got to go down to Houston. The winner does.
Aaron Judge got booed at Yankee Stadium.
That's ridiculous.
That shows you how ridiculous.
Yep.
I mean, come on, man.
Unreal.
He hit 62 home runs this year, and you're going to boo the guy because he strikes out. That's what big time hitters do. They strike out a lot. Yep. Look at who the leading all-time strikeout guys are. It's Dave Kingman. It's Mark McGwire. Because baby, they're swinging for the fences.
Yep.
But oh well, that's just I find that funny.
It's crazy.
Let's see. Wyatt said that Major League Baseball did the fans wrong. No exchanges or refunds for the game last night. What?
Oh,
that's not possible.
I'm gonna have to look this up now. I did not hear that. But that is
how do you do that? I mean, how is that even possible to do that to somebody when you don't? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either. I don't see anything. This is just a quick. I'm going to search during the break. I did not hear that, although it would not surprise me because if there's a bad decision to be made, the MLB is going to make it.
Well, we got lots to talk about today. Looking forward to Mike DeCourcy joining us, of course, as always, from the Sporting News, Hall of Fame writer from the Sporting News. And, you know, he wrote a piece on Dane Fife a while back. And then, ironically, Dane is going to be with us today. Looking forward to that. Very much so. Get caught up on what he's up to and what's going on with him right now. Don't get excited to think that we're going to lay out some big it's not going to be a dovetail into the details of what went down and all of that. So I just want to make that sure that that's clear right now. There is what's called an NDA. It's a non-disclosure agreement that both parties have signed. So very little to no, nothing can be talked about in regard to that. Nor, would that be nice? Of course. But looking to have just an interesting, fun conversation, catching up with what's going on now. And that's where that is going to head, just as a heads up, which I don't want to cut the audience, but at the same time, I'm not looking to try to fool somebody,
right?
To thinking that's going to be something different than what they're hoping for. But I think it will be entertaining and enjoyable regardless. Because it's Dane and he is both of those at all times. He's a funny dude. The AP poll, we mentioned it yesterday, out. Indiana basketball coming in at number 13. That's big news for fans. That's the first time in the poll since 2016, I think. Well, no, not in the poll. That's not since 2019. Since the last time they were actually in the poll, but that was barely, I think. Number 1, North Carolina. Number 5, Kansas. That's two of Indiana's pre-conference opponents. But the most surprising thing to me, the Big Ten with only 3 teams. Indiana, the highest ranked by far from the Big Ten. You have to look all the way down to number 22 to find Michigan, and then right behind them, the Illini, number 23. It's a little surprising. There's like at least 5 SEC teams that are in this in the initial poll, and I'm not saying that those teams are not worthy, but you're not going to tell me that Iowa, Michigan State, and Purdue. How does Purdue escape this? Just because they lost Jaden Ivey? They're pretty low.
Yeah.
They're pretty, I mean, and the other big dude, but I'm telling you, they are not going to be easy to play.
Right. Well, there's always
Mount Edie. When you have a mountain,
they do.
A mountain is an immovable object.
And what's interesting is the years that Purdue is not supposed to be very good or they're not on anybody's radar is typically the year that they're challenging for a Big Ten title. So it'll be interesting. They've got some pieces. I'm not overly surprised to see that they weren't ranked just because they lost Jaden Ivey, Travion Williams, and Sasha Stefanovic. Illinois,
they still have Mason Gillis. They've got Mount Edie. They've got a ton of other solid players. I just look down the poll and I'm like, come on, man.
I'm surprised Illinois is not higher. I think Illinois should be.
That's another thing.
That was the most surprising to me because, I mean, I guess you've got some young guys coming in. I think Sky Clark's going to be really good. I think they've got a lot of really good pieces. I just would have put them probably. I don't know that I would have put them ahead of Indiana, but I think I would have had them in the top 20.
It's a tough. I mean, there's a lot of good teams there as you look down that list.
Right.
Like I said, you start with North Carolina, Gonzaga, with Houston, former IU coach Kelvin Sampson's team in there, then the Kentucky, and then Baylor and Kansas from the Big 12 tied at number 5. Then you got Duke, UCLA, Creighton.
All eyes are going to be on Duke this year. I forgot about that.
Why?
No Coach K.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, new coach. I don't know. As long as they don't tank. If they don't tank, nah.
Well,
if they don't tank, it just get your feet wet. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. But I'm just saying, I'm surprised that there's only 3 teams ranked from the Big Ten in the top 25. But especially when you look at the SEC and that doesn't happen, man.
I think part of it too is not only did these teams lose a lot of talent, but for the second straight year they didn't. Showing off a specific mug there, are you?
Think fast, run fast.
I think that a lot of it has to do as well with the poor performances in the last 2 March Madness. The Big Ten has not performed well. So I think the combination of those teams losing a lot and the poor performance in the postseason, I think, is probably what is preventing maybe a few more Big Ten teams from getting in the top 25. But I think by the end of the season or midway through the season, we'll see probably 5 or 6 in there. It always happens.
Philip asked, how is Michigan ahead of Illinois? Well, how's Illinois not ranked higher? Michigan has one thing that Illinois does not have, a star in Hunter Dickinson. So I'm going to guess that AP writers or voters are just going off of that. That's the reason why Purdue is not ranked. They're not, They don't know because they don't. 80% of these writers do not follow the teams they're voting on. Maybe 90%. It's probably 90%. So they do not have a true gauge on these teams.
Correct.
So therefore they rely on last year, old information, or what they thought last year. And so that's why, in my opinion, the answer to your question. We got to take a break, though. What's rolling along already? Mike DeCourcy is going to join us from the Sporting News. We'll talk to him about the AP poll and much more. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by BB's Market, where I will not be this Friday. I have to attend a funeral for a dear friend. Different spelling, but Craig Schutte, a good friend who was actually his lifelong best friend was Mike Pratt, who is the UK play-by-play guy, UK basketball. They were both born in Ohio, but Craig ended up down. He played basketball, and then somehow they met. I think he may have spent a year at UK, but great dude. Passed away, and so I'll be down visiting with him one more time. But we've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat, including Mike DeCourcy, and Dane Fife joins us later, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
Excuse me.
Oh my gosh. Last night was the first time I'd turn on my heater.
Oh, was it?
We actually had snow flurries this morning, believe it or not.
My aunt texted me that and told me that was in the forecast.
It's weird. October 18th. That seems like one of the earliest times I've seen. No, I didn't see it. Somebody texted me saying there was snow or something.
This is why when people say, Dustin, you should move back to Indiana. Dustin, you should move to the Midwest. No. Tired of it.
See, I like it though. I hate. I think the number one thing I hate about owning a home right now is my air conditioner. So I'm fine with it. And I don't hate owning a home, but you know what I'm saying.
I gotcha. Yeah, I get it.
Hey, quickly, Jim. So does that mean, are you doing a show at all Friday, or are you just not doing it from BB's, or what's the deal?
Oh, I'm just not doing Friday. I'm just not doing it from BB's.
Okay, gotcha.
I'll have to let JD know.
BB's Market.
I need to get more coffee because I made it very weak today.
Well, see, yeah, we can talk about that when I come back.
Where is Michael DeCourcy?
Where is Mike on here? I want his latest story, man.
I'm sure he wrote something about the AP poll.
Well, I can't ever find it like directly through.
Morning, Mike.
Morning, Dustin.
Good morning.
John.
Ooh,
Jim, how you doing?
Mike's got his official U.S. someone's soccer pullover on. I can't tell whom.
That's a women's team because you can tell because they have stars. The men do not.
Stars stand for. I get that then. So is that the thing in all of soccer to use stars for championships? Because I know IU does that.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Tuesday, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway of the Golf Club at Eagle Point, where right now they have an incredible, if you're a golfer, this is nuts. They call it their gold anniversary membership. One-time payment of $299 covers your green fees for the next 2 years. You just have to pay the card fee, and you can book a week in advance. Holidays and weekends start at 10 a.m. So what a deal. There's only a limited amount, so get at it. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News joining us. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. What's going on?
You're looking awful official and dapper with the USWNT jacket on. There's so many acronyms. Sports is the worst for acronyms. There's so many acronyms, and I'm like, wow. And I had an acronym for something the other day, and I'm like, usually I can just bust it out. It doesn't matter if it's a school or whomever. And I'm like, I got nothing. And I don't even remember what it was, but lots of acronyms. Man, you've got a lot of content in the bank, as I call right now. If you go to the Sporting News, Mike has got just over the last week a great piece on Trace Jackson Davis in his final chapter. trying to add to his legacy. One on Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren and expansion. There's one on TCU's Damian Bow using a non-certified agent. We'll talk about all this. I read the one yesterday about this kid up in Pennsylvania somewhere that's rushing, that's trying to hit 4,000 yards rushing this year. And then this is, I guess, a piece from the heart. The Pirates have never recovered from their 1992 NLCS loss to the Braves. Is that the one where Francisco Cabrera delivered the winning blow?
It is. And I spoke to him. And I
can't believe I was watching that game. I don't remember, for me to remember a moment of watching a baseball game in TV, especially that wasn't the Reds or something, blows my mind. But I will never forget, I was still a TV sports anchor, but I was out in Washington State, in the southeast part of Washington, at the home of the reigning world champion professional bareback rider and rodeo. And we were watching this game, and I'll never forget. And Francisco Cabrera with a hit to left field.
Yeah, it was a very memorable time for me in my life too. I was actually at that point. I was sitting in the living room of the house that my wife and I had just built, that we planned to live in for the rest of our lives in Pittsburgh's North Hills. And as we built that house, the newspaper that I worked for the Teamsters that delivered the paper went on strike, and the company that owned the paper, after several months of negotiations, said, we're done. Put the paper up for sale, sold it to the competitor. The competitor's plan was to put it out of business. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, series in the town where I grew up, that's all I want. I literally did not care if they went in against the Blue Jays that year and got swept. I distinctly remember that I didn't care. All I wanted was the series in the city, and they had it in their hands, the 2-0 lead in the 9th inning. And the mythology over the years has become that it was Barry Bonds' fault for not moving in, playing more shallow, and being able to field Cabrera's hit and throw out Sid Bream. But the reality is that there were many more factors at work in that inning, and the article that I wrote goes into a lot of that, starting with the fact that they got a little unlucky when Terry Pendleton turned on an inside fastball from Doug Drabeck and fought it off, and it was a great swing. But, I mean, you've seen that swing a million times in baseball. The ball always goes foul when you turn on a pitch like that. It's almost impossible to get around quickly enough. And the physics of baseball, usually it's going to curve into the seats, and this one didn't. And it stayed straight, and it caught inside the line. And so Terry Pendleton ends up at second with a double, and you think, okay, that's only one run, man. Just get the next 3 guys, and you're fine. His run doesn't mean anything if you get the next 3 guys. So he gets David Justice to ground to second base to Jose Lind, who had 6 errors all year, had the range like Ozzie Smith on the other side of second base, and won the Gold Glove. And on that particular play, doesn't field what is a relatively routine grounder. And so now it's I might have been first and third with no outs, and now things get really bad. So there were a lot of different people who had a hand in that loss, and included in that was. And I didn't get deeply into this in the article, but the regular home plate umpire got ill that night, was feeling dizzy and sick, and so he had to leave the game. So they put a different guy in there. So when Stan Belinda came in against Damon Berryhill and put 2 pitches over the inside corner that Mike LaValliere in the article swears were strikes, and that most Pirates fans obviously think were strikes. They were called balls, and David Berryhill walks instead of striking out. And so that all leads to Cabrera. And I did talk to Francisco. He was delightful. And he talked about, getting ready to bat. And This is a guy who batted, I think if I remember correctly, the correct number is he batted 11 times all year and batted once in that series. And
I remember his name for the rest of my life.
Yeah, everybody does. I mean, especially if you were a fan of either team, but everybody who followed baseball back then remembers what Francisco Cabrera did in that circumstance. And there you have it. He's I think he was delighted to talk about the hit. It was an opportunity for him to relive what was the greatest athletic moment of his life. And so, I think we all have those little moments, where we peaked athletically, and even if it was little league,
that was at age 4,
whatever it might be, intramurals. We all have those moments. His happened to be on national television in the National League Championship Series.
Not a bad place to do it.
Not at all.
Not a bad, yeah. But the fact that I was not a fan. I didn't like Atlanta. I wasn't a fan of Pittsburgh. Maybe I wanted Pittsburgh to beat Atlanta because I didn't like Atlanta because they were winning. Only because they were winning. They were already winning. This is so long ago that they were already still winning, and this was way back then when they had Schmaltz and all that crew. Golly. But yeah, fun times though. Still, for that to stick in, that's the great thing about sports. Moments like that are just encapsulated. And just I think that's what makes sports so great for people. Like I said, I was a fan of either team, and that's an indelible moment for me. But looking forward to that. I know that it mattered to you because you're a Pittsburgh fan, and so that probably still something that will never leave you.
Not only that, but I didn't realize.
I was talking to Mike, but.
I know, but I'm just saying that 27 losing seasons I did since 1993. I did not realize that. I mean, does that exacerbate the situation for you? I mean, you had that chance. Do you think anything goes differently if they do get into the series?
I don't, but they would have had that.
Yeah.
The Pirates organization was a mess at the time. The Galbraith family, who did a wonderful job running it for many years, they were also involved in horse racing. Bing Crosby, they were friends with Bing Crosby, and Bing Crosby was a part owner for that period of time. And then when they put it up for sale, I shouldn't have got him started.
They love it. They love it when I sing.
It just sort of shows how much different professional athletics is now than it was then. When the Galbraith family put it up for sale, nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted the team. And so basically a consortium of Pittsburgh business people who didn't want the team to necessarily leave got together and bought it. But I mean, there wasn't a really strong singular voice. There certainly wasn't a strong singular pocketbook. So the team got good. Because they hired a general manager named Sid Thrift, who did a really masterful job of he brought in Barry Bonds with the draft, the Major League Baseball draft. He traded a very fine catcher named Tony Pena for Andy Van Slyke and Mike LaValliere. He built the team, and then so now it's good. And like the people who are in charge of having to pay it, they don't want to pay it. And Sid Bream, who I also spoke to for the article, he had a really they got him for trading Bill Madlock, and he became a regular everyday first baseman, basically a 270 hitter, 13-14 home run a year guy. And that was good back then because the parks were bigger. In today's baseball, he'd probably hit 20 to 25 with where the fences are. So he was a good player. And after they won the division in 90, they told Sid Bream that he was their priority. And then they basically started offering him minimum wage. And he's like, in so many words, and so then the Braves offer him a free agent contract. And he and his wife absolutely did not want to leave Pittsburgh. They were torn to pieces, but they didn't have really much of an option. So they were going to take less money to stay. And he talked to his agent And his agent said, "Oh, that's a great idea, Sid. What if they trade you to Atlanta and you're making, I don't know, let's say $300,000-$400,000 less than you could have, 30-40%, whatever." And he said, "Yeah, that's a good point." So he said, "Okay, call him back and tell him we'll take your bad deal if you give us a no trade clause." And the Pirates said no. So that's how he ends up on second base in 1992 and ends up sliding across home plate with the win that cost them the World Series.
Which is how you don't want to be remembered. Currently, how about the last night? We thought we were going to find out if 3 of the 4 remaining teams in this year's Major League Baseball playoffs are going to be wild card teams, which the Dodgers going down. A bit of it's not a bit of a surprise. It's a hell of a surprise. They were far and away the best team in baseball, but San Diego was a lot better than people thought because they were so far behind the Dodgers, who won so many games. And the Padres are still without one of their absolute best players, who was suspended because of PED use. And I'm like, wow, can you imagine? We thought the 2 strongest teams in the National League, or the strongest division, may be the East because of Atlanta and the Mets both winning 100 games, but man, the Padres are looking pretty good right now.
Jim, is there anything in baseball that isn't the stupidest it can possibly be? Like if you said, okay, what's the stupidest way we can run our business? Okay, let's do this. What's the stupidest way we can run our competition? Okay, we're going to do this. What's the stupidest way we can run our postseason? Okay, let's have teams that played 162 games decide advancement on the basis of 5 games. I mean, is that the dumbest thing they could possibly do? Of course it is. So that's why they do it. It's atrocious. Why would you expand the dumb a wild card series to 3 games and then shrink the division series to 5? Why would you do that? Because it's baseball and they do whatever is the stupidest thing you could possibly do.
Not only that, I here's the thing that I'm interested to see. I'm not convinced the bye is a benefit to those teams. Baseball is such a rhythm sport, and if you have if you have mostly wild card teams in there, it almost says that you're better off to play in those wild card rounds than it is right now. And I know we have a very small sample size, and I know baseball is baseball, and sometimes it's just weird. So this might be a strange year, but you had the Dodgers and the Braves get eliminated. The Yankees are on the cusp of being eliminated. To me, there's something there with potentially the bye not benefiting those division winners.
Well, it doesn't, but I think I think it's just too short a sample size. Where I would disagree with you, Dustin, is from the standpoint of remember, in order to survive the wild card round now, you have to still burn your best pitchers or whatever, and maybe you might not have them available because you might have needed to use them at the end of the season to get into the wild card. It all depends, but you're right about rhythm, but you also have to look at the idea of burning pitchers. But when it was a 1-game deal, then there is no rhythm issue because it's 1 game, and then you get right back into it instead of having to sit there for a week. And so I think that's where your rhythm concept is right. That the wild card round should be a game. That's it. If you want one more extra team in there to whatever, fine. 1 game, you're in. It's a cool concept because it adds that, when the Reds and the Pirates played in 2013, I mean, that was the last time Pittsburgh baseball actually had a pulse and a real feel to it. That 1 game that everybody knew was for everything if you wanted to continue on. And of course, baseball gets that right and then says, "No, we don't want to do that anymore." Right. I can't imagine there being a worse ownership, management structure, commissionership in professional sports than what goes on in Major League Baseball. It's atrocious what they do.
The great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News is with us, and we've got lots more coming up. When we come back, we'll talk about Big Ten expansion and his piece on Kevin Warren and Trace Jackson Davis and the potential legacy he wants to leave behind at Indiana. With more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Go Team, a part of the WOW Club. Make sure you go to your Apple app or Google Play Store right now and sign up for the WOW Club. Start earning wild rewards today. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's Dane is joining us after you, Mike.
Oh, wow. Good.
Oh, speaking of that, Mike, I don't think we've had a chance to tell you yet, but the clip we did of you a couple of weeks ago, we talked about your article. You did tell him that's our most watched clip on YouTube.
It was amazing.
But that happened in 48 hours.
Yeah, it happened in 48 hours. It surpassed everything else, which is insane.
But ironically, the one that he surpassed was Bob Kravitz. And what was Bob talking about?
Same thing, Dane Fife. But it was also his was about when he got fired.
Yeah.
Make sure you tell Kravitz I passed him, by the way. we were colleagues.
Oh, not only passed him in 48 hours.
There you go.
Because how long did it take for that to get there, John?
Bob's was like a slow burn. It took about 3 or 4 weeks to get to 10,000.
Kravitz and I were colleagues at the Pittsburgh Press in the early 80s.
No kidding! I didn't know you guys were there.
Yeah. He was the rising star. He came in. I think he was there for a year and a half and left for Sports Illustrated. I was the ham and egger, still plugging along. But Bob's a terrific writer, and I'm a big fan of his. But the fact that I get one up on him makes me happy.
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, it was that was number one with a bullet, baby, as they'd say back in the days. But yeah, it's a 12 plus now. I think it's finally starting to level out.
Yeah, I saw it was at 12,000 this morning. I took a look at it.
But I think and so when I started the show and said that he was going to be on, first thing I said was, don't be looking for some bombshell. Because that's not, I don't want people to think that I'm trying to lure them in and that they're going to get this bombshell, because that's not happening. But there is some new news that people don't know. So I'm looking forward to that. He's going on dockets tomorrow. And I've got to say, I give him so much credit, because I've been talking to Dane, all along. And I said, tell you what, I said, whenever you're ready, I said, you let me know, and just don't go on anybody else first. So he called me yesterday, which is cool.
Now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. Hope you're having a great day. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com, always co-hosting with me. And Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News here. We're brought to you by our good friends from RE/MAX Realty. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. It could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, senior writer, Hall of Fame writer with us. You've got a bunch of content out, man. You've been pounding it out. A couple of the pieces, though, relative to the listeners. Big Ten and expansion. You talked to Kevin Warren and Trace Jackson Davis and the legacy he wants to leave. I'll quickly touch on the expansion because there's nothing impending. But Kevin Warren also knows that just today, that could change tomorrow.
I think he wants to leave the door open for the.
He almost has to. He has to leave the door. He didn't have a choice, right?
Yeah, I think there have been some in the business who have pushed the narrative that this is aggressively likely to happen, and logic never followed there. Now, look, if Notre Dame were interested, there would be expansion tomorrow. Like Notre Dame, the door is always going to be open for Notre Dame. they're not going to say no to them. I know that for a period of time after what happened, I think it was in the early 90s, maybe. I can't remember the time frame on that. That there were some hard feelings over Notre Dame basically getting to the altar and then changing their minds, so to speak. I don't know that it was all the way to the altar, but I know there were some hard feelings. But that's, business is business. If they can get Notre Dame to do it, they'll do that, and then they'll probably add somebody else. Now, who that would be a decision that they would have to make. But this idea that they're aggressively out there looking for expansion targets. Look, if they wanted to expand to more than USC and UCLA, it would have been done. There was no reason to delay it. It didn't make economic sense to do that, and I'm not sure it makes competitive sense to do that. So I don't believe that it's likely, unless there's some sort of market force that says this is the way it's going and you got to get on it. And I don't know that that's going to happen. I think it would be largely dependent on the ACC. And I still believe that contract is more secure. The grant of rights that the 15 ACC members signed to remain in the league, I think that's more secure than people think it is. I think people want to believe that it's easily broken because it makes for interesting conversation. And if it were easily broken, Texas and Oklahoma would be in the SEC today. They would not be hanging around the Big 12 making less money than they could in the SEC for another two. I think they're going to end up spending 3 to 4 years now. Well, I guess last year, this year. I think it's a total of 3 years that they'll have spent in the SEC subsequent to their announcement. In the Big 12 subsequent to their announcement, they're going to go to the SEC. This is not. It's not a contract easily broken. So I don't think that expansion to include an ACC member will be in short order. I mean, we're talking about that contract goes to 2036. Teams might think about starting to break it, in 22, 23, 32, 33, 34. It's hard to say those words, right? They might start thinking about breaking it then, but breaking it now basically breaks you. You make no money from television for more than a decade. That's not feasible.
And if the Big Ten is looking at expansion, is the biggest eye catcher the TV market or the program?
Well, I think that no. I mean, if you, like I said before, Notre Dame, it's not about TV market. It's about
definitely the program with them.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. But Notre Dame is different. There's not a lot of Notre Dames out
right.
there.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, other than them, what's out there that really moves the needle, even to the degree necessary because remember, so if you sign another 2 schools and they can pay for themselves in the sense that your consortium of network partners says, okay, we will up your check enough so that they can have an equal share. That's hard enough to find. I don't think there's anybody out there who does that. But even if you could, what's in it then for Indiana, Wisconsin, Northwestern, even Ohio State? What's in it for them? Having more company, making your brand less exclusive? What's in it? I don't see that. Who out there can make the check worth more than it is now? Then you start to see where those schools say, okay, well, how do you say no to more money? But, we can bring in enough to cover ourselves. I don't think that, if it's me and I'm in a competitive situation, why do I want to make it so that 2 more schools can say, hey, come to our Big Ten university and play in the Big Ten in our competition? That just makes my recruiting pool that much shallower or more crowded, whichever way you want to put that.
One of the things that I thought was interesting, Mike, is you Kevin Warren talked about college football playoff expansion and the 12 teams. And one of the things that I didn't really think about and why it kind of got pushed back and pushed to the wayside initially was because he didn't want to basically have implement this new system and then have a lot of questions. And he basically wanted some sort of preparation. I mean, did you get any, what other details did you learn about what questions were still out there? Were there any specific questions, or did he just kind of say we had a bunch of things we hadn't addressed yet, and that's why we didn't move forward with it? I know initially conference, I just lost the word, but automatic bids for conference champions was a concern or a topic. But were there other topics there that he was concerned with that have since been addressed, or was it just because there were so many questions?
I think the number one was television and what would happen with the contract if they expanded. Would it be open to multiple bidders, or would it just remain with ESPN, only they'd write a bigger check? I think that was a big part of it. What was the plan there? I think the competitive plan was part of it, from how the automatic bid process would work, if indeed they were included. And I think they were included in the original plan. How would that work? And then how would the competition work? Home sites, bowls, all that stuff. And, and so they've answered a lot of those questions in the subsequent months. So I think that made them more comfortable. I don't think that the disruption that occurred with Texas and Oklahoma, and he didn't say this, but I don't think that how that went down made anybody in college athletics comfortable. Sure. And so I think that taking a timeout, so to speak, made everybody feel a little bit better about where things were going. So I do think that was a factor as well, although that was not something he answered. The part that I asked him about, and I'm not sure that I got quite, we really got to the answer that I was hoping to get to, was about the structure of the competition. He went off on a different tack than I'd hoped to address. I asked about home sites versus neutral sites, because especially as the Big Ten commissioner, his members, those who enter, whether it's Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, or somebody else in the future that looks competitive enough to do this, they're all going to be at a competitive disadvantage when the playoff gets to the later rounds. Home sites, you earn it, you play it in, from 5 to 12. If you're 5 to 12, you get to play at home. But then you get into the bowls, and the bowls are all located in the southern footprint. The only bowl that's in the rotation that's in the current Big Ten footprint, or what will be the current Big Ten footprint, is the Rose Bowl, which will be Big Ten country in a couple of years. Right. Every other one is basically an SEC country. I don't think that's a way to stage a competition. This doesn't seem, it doesn't seem like the most balanced way to do it. And there were a couple of columns written. Bill Trocchi from Sporting News wrote one after this weekend, the unbelievable scenes we saw at Tennessee and some other places, Utah. And Dan Wetzel from Yahoo wrote one as well. This is why that, with maybe except for the possibility of the championship game, the college football Super Bowl, all those games should be played on home sites. Every one of them, even if it's going to be called too bad. I mean, that's football. The New York Giants had to play in Green Bay on the way to their Super Bowl, and they survived it and won it and went on and beat Tom Brady. That's the way it works. And other teams have to go down south and play in heat and humidity because those teams earned it. That's the way it's supposed to be. And it's also, there is no sanctity to the bowls. I mean, I think they've shown us over the last, generally, too many of them, let's put it that way, have shown us what they're about. It's not all this, we're good for college football stuff. They're good for the bowls. I don't think they need to be part of this. But, old line tradition and habit, and who knows, why, they stay into this rotation when we get to the expanded CFP. I think it's time to consider eliminating all of them.
Mike, also a great piece from Big Ten Media Days on Trace Jackson Davis and his legacy, so to speak. He is climbing up the board in in virtually every statistical number, especially those that matter. Points, he is at 1,588 now, and I don't know exactly where that is, but it's in the top 10, I believe. He's about.
I think he's still I think he's still outside the top 10, but he's like he's within a few good games, I think, of making the top 10.
Along with almost 800 rebounds and nearly 180 blocks. But some people he will absolutely probably pass: Scott May, Mike Woodson, that you mentioned. But all the guys are in front of him. In front of that, the thing that they all have in common, that they all won Big Ten national championships, and that's the thing that Trace, his teams have not gotten close to, and this is his only and last opportunity.
Right, and I liked how conscious he was of that. I like that he didn't pretend he's not been a great player. I think he knows he's had a great career from an individual standpoint. He was a second team All-American, I believe, as a sophomore. Last year was on one or two All-America teams. Now, the Big Ten was so loaded with great players last year. I think it kind of squeezed him out of the mix. But he's been a great college player, but without much team accomplishment to show for it. He most likely, if he stays healthy, he will end up in the top 3 at IU in points, rebounds, and blocks. And no other of Indiana's great players in their wonderful history has done that. No one else stands in top 3 in points, rebounds, and blocks. But he doesn't want to get there without something to show for it from a team standpoint. Big Ten championship, Final Four, obviously national championship if they could do it. That national championship is going to be hard. I'm not sure they're built for that, but I think they could do the other two if everything goes the way it should go, in the right direction. They've got real talent there. They've got some terrific game-changing freshmen. They've got veteran guys who played a ton of college basketball, including their best player, their best 2 players, their best 3 players. Those guys have all been around for at least 4 years. When you look at Trace, Race, and Xavier Johnson, all 3 of those guys have been in college basketball for 4 or more seasons. So the fact that they have all that going for them suggests it's possible. Now it's up to them to take it to the court and make it happen.
Mike,
the Big Ten. Go ahead, Dustin.
I was going to say, Mike, in your conversations, working with Big Ten Network, following Indiana, one of the things I think I've noticed is that it seems like guys like Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson, and some of the other players on the team are a little bit looser and a little bit more confident. They seem to have a little bit more of their own personality heading into the season. And I think that trickles down from their head coach. I was just curious if you've got that same vibe, or if it's just me looking for something that's not actually there. But it just seems like there's a new aura about them, a new a self-assurance, a confidence that they have that maybe we haven't seen in previous years.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Dustin. That's part of what I talked about with Trace being comfortable saying, he didn't want to be a great player that had, that was on mediocre teams. I thought that was a great telling quote, that he had a real self-awareness there. They haven't been good enough as teams, even though they, kind of could have been a backfield team if there'd been a 2020 tournament when he was a freshman. The following year, they weren't any kind of tournament team. And then, of course, last year, they were one of the last 4 teams in the field. That's not what they want. They want to be at the front of the line. And I think they have a feeling that they can do that. But again, a lot of that means you've got to do better. You got to play better defense. You've got to play more connectedly on the floor, more minutes. No one plays 40 minutes of great basketball. That's a fallacy. That's a target to shoot for, but no one does it. But you got to play that 32, 33, 34 minutes of great basketball so that when you have your 5 or 6 where the other team has the upper hand, they can't catch it. And that's, I think that's something that Indiana will strive for this year. And, a lot of that flows from the point guard position. Xavier Johnson, really important to where this team goes. And he's, as I said, can't remember where I said it now, but he's got to be he has to be someone who is a consistent performer on the field and off it, on the floor and off it. He's got to be really good when he's playing, but he's got to be really good when he's off the floor as well. He's somebody that controls the basketball. And when you have someone who is basically your quarterback, that player has to be someone that other players can look to be a consistent performer. And again, that goes into the locker room, that goes into the community. All that has to be there for Indiana basketball to be what it wants to be this year.
And of course, Indiana, the AP poll, the first AP poll of the season out just yesterday. Indiana, the highest ranked Big Ten team of only 3 Big Ten teams ranked, Mike, which doesn't surprise me. But the Big Ten, I think, is better than 3 teams in the top 25, which the first question is going to be who.
I was going to say, which 3?
Yeah. Well, I don't know that there's 3 more that belong in there, but
no, I mean, which, you know, what I'm saying is if there's more than 3, which ones? Yeah.
I think that, well, first of all, you can never count out Tom Izzo and Michigan State. I know that they lost a lot, but he's just a super great coach, great recruiting. And they may not be a top 25 team right now, which is fine. I expect them to be. Purdue is going to be sneaky. Yeah, they lost a lot, but they still have an immovable object in Mount Edie, and it doesn't take a lot, and they've got solid basketball players on that roster. They may not be superstars right now, but they're all good basketball players, very, very fundamentally sound, which is Purdue basketball. And so we'll see how they do. And you cannot count out Iowa because they have another Murray brother and a McCaffrey on that team still. So they're gonna, you've got 5 SEC teams. It's just hard to believe you got 5 from the SEC and only 3 from the Big Ten. It doesn't seem right.
I would agree with you about Purdue. They're kind of my sleeper. I think that if they get good point guard play, I actually think they can win the league. I like what they have there. I thought last year.
Wow, now that's a bold statement and a hot take right there.
No, I mean, it's not come on, I don't do hot takes. I think they have. I think that if they get good point guard play, they can be the surprise of the league. They've got really good basketball players around Zach. He's very talented. They're very excited about what he's become over the summer. He's obviously a lot to deal with for everyone. He insists he's capable of playing regular minutes. Regular big man minutes is basically 28 a game. Anything more than that, in situationally is a bonus. But why I say 28, because you got to stay out of foul trouble and you got to be able to handle the wear and tear of covering the court. But he insists he's capable of handling those minutes. And that would be a big thing for them, that they don't have to worry about managing his minutes from a physicality standpoint, because, it is a lot to carry 7'4", 290 up and down the floor all night. It wears on a guy. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why you'd see Kofi sometimes not getting to 28 minutes, because it's, being that big, it's hard to play at the pace that college basketball goes. And so he insists he can. And, I think that if you have him out there and able to do that, and then you have, guys like Gillis, who I think can have a really terrific year. Again, it comes down to point guard play. That's the one question they have. They brought in a transfer who can handle the ball, but isn't really a true point. And they brought in a freshman who they really like, who Matt Painter told me at Media Day that they're very excited about and believe he can do it.
One of the things that stood out to me, I don't know that I considered Purdue a dark horse. They're always good. They're kind of like Wisconsin. They're always in the 4 or 5. So you can never really count them out. But one of the things that stood out and made me change my mind was, and I hate that it persuaded me, but what Matt Painter said when he took the podium at Big Ten Media Days, we thought we were good enough to win the league. We thought we were good enough to win the Big Ten tournament. We thought we were good enough to get to the Final Four. We didn't do any of that. And our talent basically outmeasured our production. A lot of times if a coach says stuff like that, sometimes it can be coach speak. but I feel like he took it very personally. And I get the sense that Purdue's going to be on a mission this year to get back to that point where their production, outweighs their talent.
I honestly thought that last year, and I thought this when I went to see them back in November in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, and they played Florida State. You can have too many guys, and they had too many guys. It's a hard thing to measure that. And I think that you get into habits when you're trying to measure that many guys. And I still think they could have made the Final Four. But I felt like when they got by the time they got to St. Peter's, and they didn't play well at the start, they were a little too, I think they felt the moment a little bit too much. But then once they got in the second half and Travion Williams came in and just dominated for a period of about 6 to 7 minutes and got them back in the lead. And they he needed a break. And I thought that here's where having too many guys hurts you, because you get into that habit. And also being in a league like the Big Ten, where you always have to be on your A game to win. So you don't get you don't play to the moment. You're just playing to try to get through to the next game. You got to get the W and then get to the next game. And in that moment, Zach Edey could not play in that game against St. Peter's. He showed it in his prior minutes, but because, Travion goes down, Zach goes back in. That's what the habit was. And they went to that, and he couldn't play in that game. And the lead that they had built fell right apart. They needed at that point to go small, and they didn't, and it hurt them. And I think that, I think they'll learn from that as coaches and as a team. And honestly, in this particular year, if small is the way to go, they'll have that ready because they won't have, this. They have a freshman 7-footer, but I don't think that playing him right now is a necessity. So they'll have that option, another option in their golf bag that they didn't a year ago when they only had we play Zach, we play Travion, we play Zach, we play Travion, and that's how they wound up in that bad spot against St. Peter's.
Yeah, Purdue has some kind of inroads on 7-footers. It's like
they do
automatic to West Lafayette. Trace Jackson Davis has the most talent that he's had around him. He has the best coaching staff that he's had around him, and he has the best opportunity that he has had here. Plus, he's at his peak right now as a player. Growth. He does seem very focused in talking to him. And he's got comfortable players around him, guys that he's Race Thompson is probably his best friend. They were together down at Neyland Stadium watching Trace's brother, Taven, be a part of the Tennessee football team, beat Alabama and be in that environment, which was amazing. And then he's in the locker room. They're in the locker room. They got a picture with the sheriff. There you go. Look at John's right on top of it. The only thing I think they're missing is cigars. But yeah, I mean, how do you beat that? You go down, you're in the best college football environment of the season. There's no way there's going to be a game that tops that. And then you're in the locker room of the winning side with the sheriff. End of story. It just ends right there. I mean, that's a pretty damn good night.
That's a nice little gauntlet to throw down to the people at the Horseshoe, by the way. What are we, like 6 weeks away from Ohio State, Michigan now? So the people at the Horseshoe are challenged to put together a better environment than what we saw on Saturday. And it is a challenge because I don't think it's possible. That was amazing.
Well, it started because College Game Day was there. You got Peyton Manning, the sheriff, as the celebrity guest picker. He was hilarious. I said this yesterday, but when they're doing their picks and they come around and they ask about the Oklahoma-Kansas game, which was a big game, that's when is Oklahoma and Kansas a big football game? And that's Peyton's instant response. Reese, I haven't cared about an Oklahoma-Kansas game since Danny Manning beat Mookie Blaylock in '88. I mean, just Man, I mean, he's ready. He's always ready to drop those. And then they have him get up to lead the band in Rocky Top. He says, hey, I've got to have McAfee to do this. And boy, McAfee just lit up and literally took off running from the set, almost knocking people down. It took him to get there, but just a great scene. And yeah, there's no way that scene gets topped, even for national championship games. That's just so natural and pent up anger or whatever, just being distraught by the Tennessee fans that they are able to let loose there in Neyland Stadium the other night. And it was cool. I don't know. Did the goalposts end up in the river?
Yes, they did.
Tradition,
yes,
baby. You gotta love it.
I don't understand how a Mountaineer gets to conduct Rocky Top, though. How does that work?
You know what? He was invited by his good friend, the sheriff.
There's something wrong with that.
Well, I was thinking that, but I'm like, you know what? He's in the media, so he's unbiased. He's unbiased, which, yeah, he does a good job of that. But, yeah, he's just funny. Great stuff. Your buddy Kravitz had a great piece on him not just a week or so ago.
Yes.
All I can think about is Broad Ripple Canal and Pat McAfee. It's where it all started. Well, apparently he also ended up in the Tennessee River the other night.
Well, there you go.
So I missed that. Mike, what's up next for you? You've been putting out so much. Is it vacation time?
No. We get, goodness gracious, we got hoop season starting in 2 weeks.
Quickly.
And the World Cup starts 2 weeks after that. So I got no vacation time. I took off Friday with my wife. We had a beautiful day. And that's the last she's going to see of me until April. So we're good. The next thing up for me is I'm writing about the continued push for the expansion of the NCAA tournament. I've got I wrote a column about it. Honestly, I was thinking about this. I wrote a column about that about 3 weeks ago when Ncaa was talking about it. And maybe it was longer ago than that. I don't know. It feels like 3 weeks. But I wrote a column about it, and I thought, maybe that'll shut everybody up now, and they'll realize what a bad idea it is. And unfortunately, it didn't. They're still talking about it at the commissioner level, and it's a terrible idea. And
yes.
I've got as someone who, the people who know this reality the most are people like me, Lenardi, Jerry Palm, who live on the bubble, so to speak, for about a month in February and early March, and we see what that looks like. It's not pretty. The bubble country is not pretty. The bubble doesn't belong in the NCAA tournament. The bubble goes where it goes. The teams that earn their way off the bubble belong in the tournament, but numbers 69, 70, 71, 72, or anything beyond do not belong in the NCAA tournament. The thing that the quote that keeps popping up is Greg Sankey pointing out that Ole Miss won the baseball tournament as the last team in the field, and what could happen with the 69th basketball team. What would happen with 69th basketball team? They'd lose because that's what they do.
Why does the SEC think that they need to control every aspect of sports? And
they're not alone in this, though, Jim, and that's why that's why the public has to get it stopped. Because
it's ridiculous.
It's a bad idea.
It's a beautiful thing right now. It is a beautiful thing.
It is the only thing in sports that is perfect as it is.
This is like, and I don't mean, God, I hope this doesn't come out wrong. This is like a beautiful woman going and getting Botox and or a good-looking man. Let's say a good-looking man too, or a good-looking man going and get his lips injected. Man, if you don't need to do something, don't do it.
So I should cancel my appointment.
Yes, please do. Perfect. Mike DeCourcy, I cannot thank you enough, man. Make sure you look for everything. When's your BTN duty start?
I don't have my schedule yet.
Perfect. We'll talk about that when we get closer. Make sure you give Mike DeCourcy a follow and go to the Sporting News. Free content for you, and there's plenty of it there. Mike, cannot thank you enough, man.
Thanks, guys. I'll look forward to seeing you in the Botox chair, Dustin.
There we go. Yep.
We got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Dane Fife joins us next. Don't forget this segment brought to you by our good friends from Barbara Pop Real Estate Services down in Louisville, Southern Indiana. If you're in that area looking for a home, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott counties, all down through there, Barbara Pop Real Estate Services has served that community for over 3 decades. And no one can get you in the home you want quicker or with less expense than Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. We're back with Dane Fife here at Indiana. No, we're not. Soon we'll be back with Dane Fife here on Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda. Nah, he doesn't need Rogaine. He's
economic decision, Mike. Economic decision.
Yeah, he just keeps it short.
And my forehead was getting way too big. So
that's what now you have a 5 head.
Yeah, but it looks worse when you actually have hair atop your head. By the way, the cigars being smoked in the Tennessee locker room, the Outsider cigar.
The Outsider cigars, yeah.
Yep. Outsider.com, get you some cigars.
Well, are you going to send me some?
No.
There was a reporter, the lady reporter that was interviewing Tennessee's coach after the game. I think she handed him a box as soon as she finished the interview.
She did.
Of cigars, which I'm surprised he didn't open them and show them. But
Jay Cutler supplied them.
Oh, he did?
Yep.
Why?
Because he wanted Tennessee to beat Alabama. Let me tell you, the 19 Vanderbilt fans are pissed.
I was going to say, he went to freaking Vanderbilt.
He did. It was pretty cool though. I thought it was awesome to see
he supplied. So what cigars did he supply?
The Outsider cigar. That's what they are. Yeah.
Is he with the Outsider in some capacity?
Yeah. Yes, he is the. I don't know what you would put me on the spot right here. One of the founding.
The Outsider.
One of the founders.
Why are we not having Jay Cutler on? He's from right down the damn road. He's from Heritage Hills.
I feel like you think I'm more important than I am.
Heritage Hills High School. Hey, listen to this. Heritage Hills High School. Jay Cutler. There's a guy named Ken Dilger that came long before him that played at Illinois.
I didn't know that.
Played a tight end and he. You know what? I think he ended up playing for the Colts. Ken Dilger.
He did. Were you being sarcastic? Because he definitely did.
Yeah. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
So
all right, this segment's only going to be 2 or 3 minutes.
Sweet.
Should have just skipped it.
Nah, we stay on track here at Indiana Sports Beat.
Cracking the whip. 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Just finished up a great fun couple segments with Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, talking about Trace Jackson Davis and his legacy that he is shooting to leave here. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com. Get caught up on all Indiana news, recruiting. Lots of pieces on the upcoming basketball season. Here's the season preview for Jalen Hood-Schifino as well up there today. And that is going to be a very, very, very integral part in the previous story we talked about with Trace Jackson Davis, with him wanting to win a Big Ten title at the very least, make some noise. I mean, of course, he would like to win a national title, of course. We were just talking about Jay Cutler in the break, and did not realize he was valedictorian at Heritage Hills, but doesn't surprise me. He went to Vanderbilt. Obviously extremely intelligent. Jalen Hood-Schifino is going to make a huge difference for this team. I'm telling you that. And speaking of Pittsburgh, that's where Jalen was born. But he grew up in the Charlotte area, actually where I have family, which is ironic.
Down in the Queen City?
Yeah. So, but John, just tell me when we just need to hit that, and we'll do that.
Just go a couple more minutes. We'll wait for Dane, and then we'll go to break.
But yeah, he grew up in the Charlotte area, but ended up transferring, of course, to Montverde Academy, where he played a couple years and helped leading them to back-to-back Geico High School National Championships. So he knows what playing under pressure is like, what playing for big stakes is like. I mean, this is not a state title that he won. They played on teams that played against teams that had 5 guys going to play Division I. The team he was playing on had 5 starters going to Division I. As a matter of fact, he's playing with one on his team right now, Mr. McQueen, and Sky Clark is in Illinois. But we got to take a break. When we come back, the great Dane Fife will join us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Metalworks Brewing Company, located on the square in Bloomington, in the Old Function Brewing location, right off of the northeast corner from Caddy Corner from Cabello. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is John.
Good morning, sir.
You think you're getting my face on here?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Just the audio's much better.
That would really cause your audience a problem if they're watching or listening.
You can always just put a beautiful fake photo up. Put up a picture of Brad Pitt.
Ooh, they would sense my face on the radio or the stream, and it wouldn't be pretty.
Hey, I have a face for radio, brother, and a voice for newspapers, so I got you beat.
Yeah, you definitely have a face for radio.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Since last
Dustin Schutte is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That I'm even better than I was last night when we talked.
Well, that's great.
Thank you.
Also, Dustin, real quick, go ahead and go out and come back in so we make sure your headphones are good. You know what I'm saying? Thank you.
I don't have any headphones.
Oh, good. So you took them out. Even better. That might be. Yep. I just wanted to get rid of the problem before it was created, but you did that for me. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So you've been practicing?
No. Practicing TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about it. I don't want to ask it yet.
I got to get a gig first.
A
gig. I may come after yours.
Hey,
that way,
boy, they would love it. People would love it. That would be a step up. That would be like 10 steps up.
I was thinking more like 100. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, well,
you do.
That's a little more accurate.
No, you do a good job.
Well, thank you. Did you bring breakfast for all of us?
Just peanuts. They don't have any salt.
Going salt free, Mr. Health on us.
Yep, that's right. I've got, I'm juicing and I'm eating a banana.
Look at you, Mr. Health. See, I was at the grocery last night and decided I'm just not eating enough fresh fruit, and they had pineapples on sale, so I grabbed a whole pineapple. And I cut that thing last night myself, and it's not nearly as hard as you think.
Was it any good?
It was good. They're just messy. You just got
10 seconds.
Pineapple juice everywhere.
Yeah, they are.
Membership's available, so go to eaglepoint.com right now and get yours today.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. Appreciate you being with us. Dustin Schutte, the co-host from Outsider.com as always. And we're joined by the great Dane Fife. How are you, sir?
I love that great in front of my name. Did you guys are actually right in the golf club, huh?
Yes, sir. Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, high atop the 18th fairway.
I love driving out there. You see your name on that sign. And it's funny, I played in a scramble there this summer with my sister-in-law, and I'm pretty sure I fired one right off. Maybe your office. Is your office got a window?
No, I stay hidden. They keep me hidden in an underground bunker. But that sign that you spoke of is funny you mentioned that, because that was a part of the show not too long ago. John, I don't know if you can grab that quick enough, but some woman thought that she needed, that's not the one, that was the result of her, but this lady felt she needed to remove this sign that was off property. And she had to make probably 2 trips because she had to go back over there with some cutters and cut it down. And which she did. So I'm not sure if you have that one, John, but that's one with the woman walking. But yeah, she cut that thing down, and I was just back from Big Ten Media Days 15 minutes when I found out about it, and someone told me, and I had the picture, and she's walking across the fairway with the sign under her arm and the clippers in her hand with the thing still, the ties still hanging off of the sign itself. It was pretty funny. So that sign is not there right there. But I'm going to have to replace that sign, especially since you noticed it.
Mm-hmm. Let's get a lawyer. Let's get it put back up there.
I agree. I need a bigger sign now. So just going bigger. But John, the sign, you can put the one you put back up, John. So I decided this person, if she was that interested, that she should have an autograph sign. So I had an extra one. So I autographed the back of one and put it in her front yard for her.
That's a great move. I need one of those.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. I'll get you one, brother. I will get you one. How's the family doing?
The family's great. We're enjoying the fall. We just went out and grabbed some pumpkins, and we're going to have well, it's not really pumpkin carving night. It's more of keeping my 12 and 9-year-olds from brawling, which anytime they're together. But I actually captured them in the wild getting along for like 6 seconds the other day. It was live, and it was raw footage of my 12 and 9-year-old daughters getting along for about 6 seconds.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often, and great to hear. It is that time of year, nothing more fun. Fall's a time of change. Change is coming for you, I understand, and very happy, good changes right now. I'll let you bust that news, but you're about to become a bigger star than you already were.
Well, I'm trying to do a little TV this year. And I am going to do some games for Oakland and hopefully potentially some work with Big Ten. But ultimately, the goal is to get back into coaching. Although I've always kind of dreamed of doing some TV. If it works out, I could keep doing that. But there's potential there. But I think ideally, get back into coaching, get back into the college basketball world, and start where I left off and doing work with players and helping kids, grow into men and hopefully and eventually achieving their dreams.
Yeah, I mean, coaching is something it's hard to just give up, especially when that's what you have done, especially if you're still competitive. That's a great outlet to get. But then once you get a taste of working in TV, sometimes it's a little easier of a schedule. Not always, but a little bit more of a life. I don't think people understand if you're a coach, you don't really have a life. But even if you're in TV, you still don't have as much as one as people. But
what is it about TV that you think you would enjoy, say, being an analyst for BTN?
Well, part of it is the the less demand. If I'm just in basketball, then it's you tend, I think there's some time off. And one of the things I've really enjoyed with this time off is you get a lot more time to be a dad, to be a husband, to really spend time with family. Everybody asks me if I've been playing golf, and I'd say, heck no, other than a scramble that I get invited to. And I usually don't last the full 18 holes. So all those, the time with family is just something that I've really relished and enjoyed. And I learned that we had 2 dogs in the I didn't even know we had dogs. I've learned the art of going out and walking outside. I'm actually enjoying the fall leaves. I took a drive the other day just to enjoy the change in colors of the leaves. So
some good ones here.
Old. Maybe I'm just getting closer to your age, Jim.
See, that's the good thing about you. You will never get closer to my age.
That wasn't really nice, was it, Jim?
I'm
that's
sorry. Okay, because you'll never get closer to my age. That's the good thing. I'm being Mr. Positive.
Well, 70 is a good age. It's
hey
years, and
I just want to try to. If I knew I could look this good at 70, I'd have taken better care of myself. When you went up, go ahead, Dustin.
I was going to ask, Dane, you said that ultimately maybe the goal is to get back into coaching, but I'm curious, I've heard a lot of different coaches in different sports have said, I walk past the winning locker room and I really miss coaching. And then all of a sudden I walk past the losing locker room and I don't miss it quite as much. If TV goes well, if you enjoy the broadcasting aspect of it, I mean, is that something you think you would be looking forward to doing more permanently, or is it coaching still an itch you're looking to scratch?
Well, I do think, as I said, I think coaching is in my blood and always has been. But and it's funny, you talk about the losing locker room, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but psychologists will say that, especially head coach, when you lose, it's literally, and I mean this, they say it's comparable to a death in the family. And it is just that intense. And we can say it's just a game, and we can say we make plenty of money, but it never changes as a head coach when you lose. Because you think you're getting fired. You think you see the snowball effect, and the ball starts rolling, and you envision yourself getting fired and what your next move is. So that losing locker room, it's funny you brought that up. But broadcasting, if especially in basketball for me, would still be getting a taste of the game and enjoying the game and being around the coaches, being around the players. That was something that I really enjoyed this summer. Was I coached an AAU team here in Indianapolis, AAU team, Indy Heat. It was the 16 and under. But the one thing I really didn't think I'd miss, and I found that I missed, was the camaraderie in the summer with the coaches. We even get a chance to spend time with the officials, because they're doing officiating camps in conjunction with the tournaments. And so ultimately, there's a lot of good people out there in coaching and in the business that have become friends, they're people that I enjoy being around. They're people that it's just a big network of friends eventually, if you're in it long enough. And so, I guess back to your original question, I think broadcasting would be with broadcasting, I'd be able to stay in the game and around the people that I really like and enjoy.
Yeah, and it's I've seen a lot of coaches who just they fall in love with it, because it's not only is it a way to still use that coaching ability and education, but now you're able to do it in a completely different way, as opposed to giving that knowledge to certain, whether it's your guys on your team. Now you're doing it to an entire audience, and more so, it's different teams all the time. So you get to see completely different basketball, talk about different basketball, describe different areas of basketball. And here's an amazing thing. I'm going to do a poll. I haven't yet, and I meant to do it already, but I want to see who Indiana fans' favorite play-by-play guy is right now, because I would not be shocked if that happens to be Robbie Hummel. And the amazing thing about that, of course, is that Robbie Hummel played at Purdue. And while some people would say, well, why does that matter? Oh, it matters, but not for him. He was on the show last week when we were up at Big Ten Media Days. He just has a great personality. He's just a great guy. He does a great job, and there's nothing not to like. And so for Indiana fans to like a Purdue guy doing games, that's just shows you that, man, they just appreciate good work.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that's what Robbie has done. He's honed in on becoming the best, and that's kind of a unique case for a former player. It's really hard for former players, especially that quickly, to do what he's done, and he's at the top of his craft right now. And when I talk to people about how he got there, they just simply say that he puts in the work and he treats people right, and it's allowed him to rise to the top quickly. And he does do a great job. You got to put that Jim Coyle poll out there. We got to see that poll. But I'm not resigned to coaching or being a broadcaster. I've really enjoyed learning about other things. For example, I'm going to get certified in insurance, and if I get crazy enough during this time, I'm going to try to pass the Series 7 tests. And my wife Blair is getting her master's, and so I've really enjoyed learning things that I really haven't had a chance to do. And I'm not opposed to doing other things either. So you never know, Jim. You may never see this face again, which will probably make you happy.
Never. But that's taking advantage of life, getting certified in insurance, your wife getting a master's. That's incredible accomplishments. First of all, I took that Series 7, by the way, a long, long time ago. I know all about that. Enjoy that. Enjoy studying for that.
Taking full advantage.
I hope you're a good math.
I was good math in 7th grade, but that's probably where it stopped.
But I'll tell you something ironic, and I think it was very, very wise. There is a member, and you probably know this now, or you may not, because it may have happened. There is a member of the IU basketball team that has gotten his real estate license.
Uh-oh.
How smart is that?
Oh, that's Mr. Leal.
Yes, sir. How smart is that?
That's impressive, man. That really is, especially
when
year 3.
When he told me that, when he told me that, I was like, wow, I would not have thought to do that, Dane.
No, me either.
But you thought to get your Series 7, so there's that.
There's that. One of the things I'd like to ask about on the coaching realm, Dane, is just kind of how much Jim and I talk, and we don't really have all that much knowledge about it, but we talk about NIL and the transfer portal and how much that's kind of changed. How much that's changed college basketball, the recruiting aspect. I mean, we just kind of see it from afar, but how much have these new rules in college basketball and all across college sports? How much has that changed the recruiting? How much has that changed the relationships between players and coaches? Is it really as dramatic as what some people lead on, or is it? I guess just what's the insight on some of that?
Well, for forever. As coaches, we've had to identify what is most important to a recruit and his family. And that hasn't changed. But I think what has changed is it was never negotiated at least with most programs, money was not the primary negotiator. It was education and it was future. And so for most of us to have to discuss financials, first, it's only difficult probably because it's uncharted waters for us. And then the second part of it would be the transfers. Most times, in the off season, you tend to, what's the number, 3, 4, maybe 5 guys, but 3 or 4 max for most programs. And when I worked at Michigan State, that was probably 2 to 3. We didn't have a lot of transfers. But as I look at the top 25, AP top 25, and even in the Big Ten, it's like you have no idea, just because there's so many new players on each roster. And as a coach, as somebody that has to recruit, there is a lot of projections. You got to project who's coming, who may be going, who's definitely going on your own team. And then you have to scour the landscape and evaluate other people's programs, unfortunately, who may be going. Who do you need? Who maybe as a coach that recruited a player that is on another team, but we have a relationship, looking at, is he happy? Is he unhappy? Is he playing a lot? So I do think that it's significantly more difficult, because I think most coaches recruited on, they recruited on things that they're used to, that's withstood the test of time. And now there's 2 new dynamics, which are the financial component along with the transfer portal. And so there's going to be some time where it takes getting used to, but I think in the end, 3-4 years, all this stuff, with some modifications to the current rules and the current things that are going on, these wrinkles will be ironed out, and it'll be a new normal, but it'll become normal. And what's interesting is the guys that are coming in new, these young guys, these young coaches, that's really what they're learning. And I think it's a good thing. And it's important to have someone on your staff like that comes in green, and that's all they learn, because the other things you can cloud you up. The other things as a recruiter, learning the old ways can really muddy up your brain.
Well, Dane, we talk about coaching. One of the things about coaching is moving around, being a nomad, because of the job takes you to different places. And television is a way to get away from that, to stay in the game, but yet not have to worry about doing all the moving and all of that. How attractive is that aspect?
Well, I think there's plenty of travel throughout the season, but there's not a lot of good jobs available to where, you're comfortable financially. And I think proximity to where you work is important too. Being in Bloomington, I'm not sure that, I can get too many places very easily and very quickly. Whether it's a studio, or a different city. But I think one of the things that have always attracted me to
we'll set you up in the golf club at Eagle Point Studios anytime, brother.
Oh, I love that. I'm in. I'm in. Just don't ask me to golf.
So what's up next? I know you've done some demos, screen test. How nervous was that for you the first time you sat down? Because you've done enough TV throughout your career. You've been on the other end of it. This was a different style. What was it like doing this side of it for you on the practice runs?
It was nerve-wracking because every time I've done TV before, I had job security. Now I was potentially looking for a job. So it was a little nerve-wracking. And there's so many things to think about too when you're, the techniques, instead of just freelancing like I'd usually do on TV. looking at the camera, looking at the moderator, looking at the, not looking down, not moving too much. So there's a lot of things to think about. So I was pretty nervous, but I think as I've had more practice and, worked with people, talked to people, I feel like I'm getting more comfortable. And, the first test will be pretty soon, early November. So you're going to have to tune in, Jim.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
what is that going to be? What is the first broadcast there in early November? What is that?
It's Oakland University, and they're playing Defiance, which I think is an exhibition, but early November. I'm only working a day ahead right now, so I'll give you the date here at some point.
What format is that? Who is it on? Where can we catch that?
Why did you do that? I believe it's ESPN Plus.
We'll find that out, and we'll get that information out.
Well, one of the things, Dane, that Robbie Hummel told us last week was about midway through, about halftime of his very first broadcast, he said he hated this. He never wanted to do it again. And now he's obviously flourishing in that role. So it'll be interesting. It's going to be fun. We'll definitely tune in. I'm sure there'll be some butterflies there, but it sounds like once you get through that first game, it's smooth sailing after that.
Yeah, I think so. I do think it just takes some time, and things that people have told me in the business to just talk ball, just talk basketball. That's from a coaching perspective. You don't have to worry about anything else. You don't have to.
Well, you talked about so many different things for you to think about. It's very similar to coaching because you have so many things going on, whether it's offensively and defensively, and having to make in-game adjustments, or whether it's for the entire team or the way the offense is going, or individual in-game adjustments. So there's so many things that you have to do as a coach that I think that you'll be able to carry over into this, especially once you do it a time or two. It will start to become old hat for you quicker than the normal person because of those situations that you've been in.
You know what, Jim? I agree. I think you're exactly right. I should hire you.
I agree.
Certified publicist.
I agree. I could not be a CPA, but I can be a CPP.
You just can't be your own publicist. I think where your sign was placed in that nice person's yard. That's probably not a good idea, Jim.
Well, it wouldn't have been there if she hadn't stolen the other one. Just thought she wanted to match it.
It was on her property?
No, that was the whole point. It wasn't so funny. But people are funny. People are funny, Dane. That's what they do.
Right.
So let's see, we've got Oakland versus Defiant. Your first, that's got to be. So when you're going into that, how are you going to, besides knowing the teams and scouting, which is another thing that will avail you to this job because you're used to that. That's going to make it a lot easier for you than the average person because you're used to scouting teams and knowing players and knowing guys and knowing their tendencies. That's got to be a big help in this job for you.
Well, it does, but one of the things that I learned is just the human interest stories. And I really enjoy learning about people. And so I'd imagine I'll be making some phone calls to each team and hopefully being able to get there and see their practice or shoot arounds and get to know them a little better. But the human interest story always has been something that I've enjoyed learning. And then the key though is how to fit it in sound bites, in a game, in a broadcast, sound bites. And, there's worry of talking over the play-by-play guy or, talking too long, which I like to do.
Have you watched the series Winning Time?
Is that Lakers?
Yeah.
That was the kind of the one that made Jerry West so mad.
Oh yeah. Well, it should, yeah. Misportrayed him. But the reason I'm asking is because the great broadcaster for the Lakers, Chick Hearn, originally Pat, daggone it. Pat Riley was an like his color guy, but then Chick didn't want a color guy. It was just Chick Hearn. So
Right.
Pat Riley would get like 2 words out and he would give him hold up the fist. And that meant shut up.
Dustin, do you
So at
ever
least-
say that to Jim?
Yeah, but it doesn't really work.
No.
I mean, he just
No, you
blows.
gotta act.
He's like a locomotive, Dane. Once he gets going, there ain't no slowing him down.
See that? I can see that and I can hear that.
Well, you know, that's
yeah.
Well, you know, that's how you'll be once you get going. It'll be so funny. Once you get comfortable, you'll be so much better. And he'll be giving you the fist, saying that's enough. But yeah, you just don't do what Coach Knight did there toward the end when he started yelling at the people.
Yeah, I remember him yelling at the officials, and
he was yelling at somebody who was the one I remember, which was the greatest. For whatever reason, they had the TV guys were just back too far, and it was stupid because people that were those courtside seats were kind of up forward of them. And this guy kept standing or something. And finally, during the broadcast, Knight yells out, "Hey, you want to come back here and do the game and let me sit there?" or something.
It's funny because I remember Coach Knight when I played for him, and a ref would come and stand in front of him when the ball was in play, and I can just remember Tom Rucker, Eddie Hightower, Ted Hillary. Gosh dang it! Get out of the way! I can't see. Get your out of the way! I'm trying to watch the game. And sure enough, they would just slide right over, and I'd look at a teammate. Did you see that? You know, we'd be cracking up on the bench, but it never failed. When somebody stood in front of him, he'd either put his hand on their hip and slide them over, or just yell at him, tell him to get the heck out of the way.
Well, he was always working the officials, man. That's something that you don't have to do right now. And is that something and I know we've gone back and forth. You said coaching is definitely something you'd like that you want to, at this time, want to get back into, unless the TV thing really works out and you fall in love with it, which I'm telling you, I can see happening because obviously you have a great knowledge of the game. You're very well liked, a good personality. So that's all it takes. And
yeah, thanks. I enjoy it. Keep going.
Oh no, don't stop. Please go on. Really, go on. But yeah, but that's what it takes. Having that knowledge, being able to see those things that the rest of us don't see. And that's what makes a great broadcaster to me, a great analyst, man. They just see those little things that you learned playing for, I do a lot of post-game shows with Todd Leary, and I love learning by doing those shows, because I have learned so much by listening to him and people like Charlie Miller, who's been on the show a ton. He used to be co-hosting with us, and we'll be back. Just so many other greats. It just amazes me how it's like reading a fairy tale story to them. It's easy. It's nothing.
Yeah. It does. It becomes, eventually, but you got to move with the game though, Jimmy. That's important of any good analyst, is the game changes. And as an analyst, I've learned you can't get behind. You've got to keep evolving, and you've got to really understand each team and what they're trying to do. And I think ultimately that's really what Robbie, we talked about Robbie earlier. That's what Robbie Hummel has done, and done it quickly. And it's funny that, you said Robbie, I didn't hear him say it, but, Robbie said he was ready to quit at halftime of the first game. And I can see that. I guess because there's just so many different things you've got to think about during that process.
What's the hardest thing? Is it having somebody in your ear talking to you? What's been the hardest part of doing it so far?
Well, everybody says be yourself. And, there's, I guess, trying to be yourself under those conditions. It's really difficult because of you're trying to learn the art of it. You're trying to learn the art of what makes a good broadcaster, and still trying to be yourself. And there's just so many different things to think about during that broadcast. But as you said, it takes time, and eventually all those nuances as a as a commentator, they start to just fall into place, and which allows hopefully someone to be themselves.
Yeah, it's just I know exactly what you're saying, because while to be yourself, you have to be comfortable, completely comfortable.
Yeah.
And when you first start out doing what you're doing, there's no way that you're going to be comfortable. But you will get there quickly, like I said, because the knowledge is there, everything is there. It just lay it out. And that's all you'll have to do. And it'll be fun. And I look forward to it. Look forward to that Oakland game, man. I can't wait. And then even going into that, hopefully looking forward to seeing you on some Big Ten games. Man, great matchups, the Big Ten this year. IU, one of the favorites, but not the favorite, really. I mean, Illinois, Michigan. I think Purdue is going to surprise people. Michigan State is going to surprise people. I think it's going to be a better year than the three teams that are currently ranked in the top 25.
The Big Ten, I've got Indiana, Purdue, Michigan is kind of where I feel comfortable putting them in that order. And then it's just wide open after that. It's, I've never seen it like this, and I don't think it's not in a bad way. I've just never seen the Big Ten landscape look like this, where there's been so many new players coming in and so many good players leaving. And the Big Ten still has plenty of good players from top to bottom, but there's just been a huge change and a huge, a roster turnover, and it's really difficult once you get past those, first three, in my opinion. And everything I saw where Illinois is ranked pretty high. I would tend to agree with their ability. I just don't know. I think Undy's a great coach, and I know he'll put that team together well, but I just don't know how the pieces are going to fit in, and the rotation is going to be. Once the rotation's figured out, I'll have a better idea. But otherwise, and I say the same thing about Michigan State. I like their parts. I just want to see how their rotation shakes out. Their top 8 or 9, and that's the same thing with Illinois.
Absolutely. We'll get you back on after your first broadcast, and we'll talk some Big Ten and what's going on. But, man, I'm so looking forward to it. Congratulations. Good luck. Break a leg or an ankle or whatever you need to do for good luck. But I hope it's a home run for you, brother.
Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate you. Go out and have a good day. We look forward. I'll talk to you soon. Dane Fife.
You guys.
Dane Fife joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We've got lots more coming up, and we'll be back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're a visitor.
If by lots more, you mean a minute and a half.
Yeah. It's just habit. Just habit.
We're back. And now for a commercial.
Yeah, you're legitimately just gonna come back and kind of wrap it up. Because we'll be under a minute when we come back, so that'll be an easy way to finish up. Just thank everybody for everything as usual.
For all they're doing. Oh, excuse me.
So was that his first live interview since being let go?
I don't know. I think so, but I mean, there's just certain things that can't be talked about.
Oh, I'm not talking about that, but just in general, like it's pretty cool. If
yeah,
the first person to get to do that with him.
Well, I mean, I don't know that Mike, because Mike didn't talk to him, did he?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying a live recorded interview is what I'm saying. Like this was live on the air.
Well, yeah, there's nothing about the IU stuff, so. And he's going on.
No, it's still good though, and trust me, I've already got the clip written out the way, and I think it'll draw people's eyes regardless.
Oh, I think it'll be great. Absolutely, and I think it's a good chunk of that and a good chunk of Mike DeCourcy today with the back and forth talking, at least, or I can send up to Fort Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, legitimately, we're going to have under a minute, so you know the drill.
Well,
what is that noise?
That was me.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you can find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Welcome with Dustin Schutte, our co-host from Outsider.com. What a great day it was. Mike DeCourcy always joins us from Sporting News. We missed Karate Hoosier today because he was on assignment, but actually he was bumped by Dane Fife. So thanks to Dane for joining us as always. Dane getting ready to start a TV career as an analyst, and got an ESPN Plus gig coming up, and we'll be doing some BTN games. And we'll have him back on to talk about Big Ten basketball in a few weeks, and we'll do more with that. And we'll talk more about the league specifically. So we'll get to that. But, man, it was a great day. I cannot thank all those guys enough. Cannot thank Dustin enough, as always. Thank you, brother. What's coming up for you? Anything new?
We're just continuing to do these game day stories for different cities across college football. So keep your eye out on that.
At outsider.com.
Outsider.com, yes.
And thanks to John, the producer, of course. Without him, we would be spinning with our heads. Without you, we wouldn't have no reason to be here. So thank you most of all. Thank you so much. Look forward to doing this again tomorrow. Bob Kravitz, Cal Nenrip, and Rick Bozich back on the program. Go out and have yourselves a great day. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.